The Xbox Series X releases worldwide tomorrow, and I got all of your important questions answered right here in this video. Let's get into it. What is going on, everybody? It's Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another video. Hope everyone's enjoying their day, and I know you guys are, because some of you will be getting your Series X's tonight, while most of you will be getting it tomorrow, so I know everybody is excited. But if you could do me a huge favor, make sure you hit that like button. If it's your first time here on the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and share this video out on social media. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for all the continued support. So about a week ago, I posted on my community page asking you guys to drop some questions that you want answered about the Series X that I didn't touch on in my reviews or you didn't see anybody touch on. So that's what we're gonna do today in this video. I'm gonna answer all the questions that you put down in the community tab, and I wanna thank you guys for taking the time out and actually saying something in the community tab. I had a really good time reading all the positive comments, even though there was a couple negative ones, but that is okay. So because of how many questions I'm gonna be answering in this video, it might be on the longer side, so we're just gonna dive in. And I gotta make mention once again that Microsoft sent the console to me to review and make videos like this, so thank you, Microsoft. And the first question we have is there anything about the controller that you've noticed that hasn't been talked about? I think most people are kind of sleeping on the dynamic latency input. I feel the controller is much more responsive, and I really do like the shorter triggers on the controller compared to the Xbox One version. How's the share button experience like? I actually been using the share button a lot. If you watch my review video on November 5th, every single clip I put in there, including whatever clips I'm gonna be putting in this video, were captured via the game DVR and using the share button. Now, here are the default settings on the share button. You can press it once to get a screenshot. You can press and hold to record the last 30 seconds or a minute or 3 minutes. But you can change how it functions via the Xbox Accessories app. So if you don't want to press and hold to record the last 30 seconds, you can actually set it to press and hold, and it'll start and stop a recording. Since the airflow for the console goes from the bottom then upward, is it prone to collect dust in the lower vents? Now that's a pretty good question. I haven't really had my system that long to see where the dust collects. Maybe that's how it would work if you have it vertical, where dust would fall through the vents at the top and kind of settle at the lower portion. But I actually have my console horizontal, so when dust falls, it's kind of going to stay on top of the console and away from the vents. So we're gonna have to wait and see what the dust situation is like maybe a year from now. Does the user interface run smoother on the Series X? Yes, absolutely. The user interface runs so much faster, so much quicker, and is much more responsive than it ever was on the Xbox One X. My experience with the Xbox One dashboard was that it was slow and cumbersome, and if you tried to do things too fast, like switching different tabs or going into My Games and Apps and then to the store, it would struggle to keep up with you. But that's not the case on the Xbox Series X. You can tab over to anything you want, you can go into the store, go into My Games and Apps, and everything loads up instantaneously. Even though a lot of it does require an internet connection, it is really blazing fast, and it seems like this is the iteration of the dashboard Microsoft envisioned how it would really work. But of course, they needed the Series X and the resources that it has to actually have it function as intended. How loud is the disk drive when a disk is spinning inside? Now that is a really good question. In my 2 weeks with the Xbox Series X, the system is virtually silent. I have not heard the fan spin up a single time, which is in stark contrast to when I play in the PS4 Pro or my own Xbox One X. I can actually hear those systems sometimes over my Astro A50s, but unfortunately, I don't have any discs to try out in the Series X. I am completely 100% digital, so I'm sorry I can't answer that question. I would assume it's very quiet even still, and it's only going to spin the disc when it's installing it, because otherwise it just plays it off the hard drive, because essentially the game disc is acting as a validation key. Any differences or additions to the capture options that might be only possible on the Series X? Now that is a good question. When the Xbox One S came out, you could only record in 1080p and 720p. When the One X came out, you could record in 4K. So I understand that people want to know, are there any new features for game DVR on the Series X? But I'm kind of disappointed to say that it is exactly the same on the Xbox Series X. You can only record in 4K HDR, 4K SDR, 1080p, and 720p. And you can only record for 30 seconds in 4K, I think it's a minute in 1080p and up to 3 minutes in 720p. So it's the exact same settings that you would know from the Xbox One X. How long is the HDMI cable? It's right around 6 feet. It's basically the same length as the Xbox One X HDMI cable. Can you record up to an hour in 4K? Yes, you can. Just like the Xbox One X, if you plug in a USB stick or an external hard drive that is formatted for capture, you can start a recording that will last up to an hour on the Xbox Series X, and then take your USB thumb drive and bring it over to your PC. Can you try if you get the signal on the TV when 4K 120Hz HDR mode with VRR and possibly FreeSync is enabled? Yes, I've actually played Dirt 5 and Ori the Will of the Wisps with 4K 120Hz HDR mode with the instant game response, variable refresh rate checked on the console. So I've gotten that to work. I haven't tried out FreeSync yet though. Don't know if you have access to Dolby Vision because it's scheduled for 2021, but if you do, can you confirm if it works good as well as Dolby Atmos? Yes, Dolby Vision works on the Xbox Series X, but not for games yet. When you load up something like Netflix or HBO Max, Dolby Vision does pop up, so it is there on the system. As far as Dolby Atmos, yes, I am currently using it. I have the license on the Xbox Series X, and I use it with my headphones. So both Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos work on the Xbox Series X. We have a question here that says, try to run the console with different cables other than the one you received in the box so that you can confirm if it's flexible with multiple HDMI cables and signal is not lost or reduced. So yes, I have tried this out. I swapped out the Series X HDMI 2.1 cable and tried out the HDMI cable that came with the Xbox One X, and the Series X does work with it, but of course it doesn't work to its fullest intent. You see, if you want to get 4K at 120 frames, you need the HDMI 2.1 cable. If you use a different HDMI cable, you will never get that. Is the extra low latency for the controller input a noticeable improvement? Yes, I think it is. I noticed that my actions were more responsive in Gears 5 and Forza Horizon 4, but I really noticed it when I was playing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Because of the power of the Series X, that game runs pretty close to a locked 60 frames, when on the One X, it was kind of hovering in the 40 frames area. And that game requires you to parry enemies, which is a very tight window of frames to hit the left bumper. But because of the 60 frames lock and the lower latency for the controller, all the games I play feel way more responsive, and I'm able to parry in Star Wars almost every single time, so I do think it's a noticeable improvement. What current gen game, in your experience, takes the most advantage of the new hardware? Well, I haven't really played a lot of enhanced Xbox Series X games, but I will say Gears 5, and particularly Forza Horizon 4, really shine on the new hardware, so I would say those two games. Does Quick Resume work with the apps too, not just games, so Netflix and Twitch? I actually tested this out, was playing Ori, and then jumped into Quantum Break, and then jumped into Gears 5, loaded up Netflix, jumped back into Ori, and Ori still worked, and Quantum Break still worked, and Gears 5 still worked via Quick Resume. But when I went back to Netflix, it wasn't in Quick Resume. So Quick Resume is just for the games, it is not for the apps. Notice any difference with range distance on this new controller? Better battery life, maybe? So the controller I've been using for the past year is the Elite Series 2. So compared to the new controller, I would say that the range and distance is pretty similar. As for battery life, well, you can't really compare it to Elite Series 2, so I'm going to compare it to the regular Xbox One controllers. I do think the battery life is slightly improved, but not by much. How long can you record a clip, and can you do 8K? The One X could do 4K at 20 seconds, so I was wondering if the Series X could do 8K at 20 seconds. You can do either a 4K HDR or a 4K SDR at up to 30 seconds. You can record in 1080p at up to a minute, or you can record at 720p up to 3 minutes. Those are the options. Does it play music CDs, and how is the Blu-ray playback with the films? Well, just like I mentioned how I don't own any physical game media, I also don't own any music CDs or Blu-ray films, so unfortunately I can't really answer this question. Please bro, I need to know, does the Series X output audio from the USB ports for USB audio? I missed the optical port and I really need another audio output besides the HDMI. Now I'm assuming you're talking about the Astro 50s or something with a base station. Yes, I do think they are going to run the audio through the USB, and what you'd have to do is take the base station over to your PC and update it. Now, I haven't done that because I actually plugged the optical from my Astro A50 base station into the back of the TV to get audio that way. When you open the clips page, is it faster and more fluid than before? It takes a while to load when there's a lot of clips whenever I open it on the Xbox One X. Well, just like I mentioned with the user interface compared to the One X versus the Series X, everything is much quicker, faster, and more responsive on this new dashboard. So yes, looking at the clips page, everything loads up way more faster and quickly than it ever did on the Xbox One X. Sea of Thieves improvements other than frame rate boost, graphical, etc. Well, Sea of Thieves update on the Series X basically just runs the game at 4K and 60 frames. So if you're looking for any like ray tracing or any stuff like that on Sea of Thieves, that's it. It's just the 4K resolution and just the frame rate boost. I am limited to HDMI 2.0 for now. Will I be able to take advantage of 1440p, 120Hz on Series X? I don't see the 120Hz titles hitting 4K anyways. Yes, you should be, although I don't know if it's 1440p, it could be 1080p. I'm not 100% sure on that. But yeah, you should be able to take advantage of the 120Hz depending on your TV. The only reason you would need HDMI 2.1 is to take full advantage of 4K at 120 Hz, but you can still actually play games at 120 Hz. It just would be at a resolution like 1800p. Does the Series X blend well with the environment? Like, can you look at a room and it doesn't stand out in a bad way? I thought the Series X would kind of stand out like a sore thumb in my entertainment center, but because of how it matches the color, the system is black and my entertainment center is black, and I have it laying horizontal, I honestly don't even notice it in my entertainment center. So yeah, the Series X does blend well way more than I thought, and that's due to how my entertainment center is, and that's gonna be different for every single person, so you'd have to look at your entertainment setup and see if the Series X would blend in well. It's gonna be different for every single person. What are the best new accessories, replacement battery, charger docks, etc. for the console? Also, if your TV does not have 120 Hz, how does it perform visually against the Xbox One X? Well, as far as the visuals, every single game I played on the Series X looks way better than it ever did on the Xbox One X. As for new accessories, if you're talking about replacement batteries, I highly recommend Envelope. Envelopes are rechargeable batteries that you can buy on Amazon for like 25 bucks. You can get a charger with 4 replaceable batteries, and I've been using them on my Xbox consoles for like 6 years now. They last a really long time, and when they finally do die, you just kind of swap out the 2 batteries, put them in the charger, and grab the 2 batteries that are already charged, and you're ready to go within like 5 seconds or however long it takes you to replace those batteries. I really think they're worth it, and they're much better than the kind of plug and play charge kit that Microsoft sells. So those would be some accessories that I would highly recommend. My question is, when you record a 4K clip, does it automatically upload, or do you have to manually upload it like before? The time I actually tested it out, it did seem like you had to manually upload it, but there is a problem with 4K clips on the Series X right now. You're gonna have to wait for an update before you can upload it, because right now, you can't trim 4K clips. 4K clips won't upload to Twitter, and they definitely won't upload to Xbox Live. So keep that in mind. You won't be able to upload any of your clips at 4K. If you do want to share stuff out at launch, record at 1080p, and when an update comes in a week or 2, yeah, then you'll be able to upload 4K clips. But I think it will have to be manually triggered, and then they'll reduce it from 4K to 1080p. Do they still have that terrible upload studio to edit videos? Are they going to make it easier to share your content on social media more? Upload Studio is gone as far as I know. The app has been completely removed and isn't supported anymore. So no, it won't be there to edit your videos. And they are trying to make it easier to share your content. So when you actually take clips and screenshots and they upload to Xbox Live, you can actually share them from your mobile phone Xbox app, which is a lot easier to do than on the Xbox console. Question, can I still use my Kinect if I get an adapter for voice chat and such on the Xbox Series X? No, I'm sorry, the Kinect doesn't work on the Xbox Series X. It's time to get rid of the Kinect. Can you set the Series X as your home system? In other words, will game sharing still work? Yes, 100% game sharing still works. Although keep in mind, if you're changing your home Xbox to the Series X, whatever your home Xbox was, like the Xbox One X, You'll no longer have the games there because your home console will be the Series X. But yes, game sharing works just like it does right now. How do we go about getting the animated backgrounds? Do we need to install them, or are they already pre-installed and located somewhere on the console? Those animated backgrounds are already pre-installed. There's about 6 or 7 of them. They're located in the personalization menu. You'll see a little tab for dynamic backgrounds, but you can't change them right now. When you actually click on dynamic backgrounds, it doesn't do anything. In a future Xbox Series X update, that will change, and you'll have about 6 or 7 dynamic backgrounds to choose from. But right now today, it's just that one you've seen in all the different videos. Does the quick resume work for games loaded from physical disk? Yes, it does. If you have a disk in the system, it will work with quick resume, but since you can only have one disk inside the system at a time, it's only really going to work with that one physical disk and whatever games you have digitally. Is quick resume still possible with an SSD external hard drive? Yes, quick resume works whether it's on an external or an internal hard drive or a regular hard drive. It just works. All my streaming apps are on my Xbox One X. Can you speak about if those apps run any faster on the Series X? So I've used Netflix and I've used Prime Video and Disney Plus, and they didn't seem to be any faster than what I remember them being on the Xbox One X, so I'm going to say it's going to be the exact same. About the user interface, they said they will make final touches before release date, so how was it improved? Well, I've had the system for 2 weeks now, and the user interface has been the exact same as it was 2 weeks ago, so I don't think they really made any improvements, and it's definitely not running in 4K, it's still running in 1080p. Do you know if there's a day one edition like when Xbox One was released, and how long is the power cable? There is no day one edition, unfortunately. Everybody kind of gets the same exact system, and the power cable is about the same as the Xbox One X. All right, guys, those were all the questions that I noticed on the community page. I tried answering as many as I could, so I hope you really enjoyed the video. So let me know what you think about all these questions and answers in the comments below, and as always, if you enjoyed it, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, share this video out on social media, or tell a friend about the channel. Hit that notification bell if you always want to be notified immediately whenever I drop a new video like this. Thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it, and I'll see everybody in the next video. Later, guys.